Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Sean. I'm in Dublin. This is Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland, and this is our long distance friendship podcast. This is episode number 17. Imran, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, good. I'm surprised we're 17 episodes deep. I know I said that last week as well, but it's just crazy to think that we've done 17 episodes. And we've only missed 1 week
Yeah.
in the whole time we've been doing this.
No, yeah, no, it's just a week where we couldn't I'm amazed that it's only happened once that we haven't where our schedules have conflicted so much, especially because your work is primarily kind of evening stuff, and I finish work by 5 o'clock over here, which is 4 o'clock your time. Oh no, sorry, 6 o'clock your time. So you're way more like it's been work. So I'm surprised we've managed to iron this out as well, especially because we're both even outside of work super busy, like me with rehearsing and gigging and playing football and stuff, and you with going and setting up the house. And I'm sure you're helping, and I know you've said before you're helping other people come over, move places, and then you've got people coming over to your place as well, so I think it's a really impressive streak that we're on at the
Yeah.
moment. I also think it's quite funny. Sometimes sometimes we'll literally record 2 days apart. We'll record on a Sunday night and then a Tuesday evening, and then there's sometimes where it's we'll literally do that Tuesday and then not record again for almost 2 weeks. It's
Mhm.
mad how it works, but it feels so long when I don't talk to you now. Whereas before when you first moved, we would go maybe 2 or 3 weeks without checking in or messaging or just catching up or whatever. Whereas now it's if I don't talk to you for a week, it feels really weird. You know?
Yeah, it's weird, if we're not in contact, even if it's not just a throwing a message to each other about something. And again, I'm still in the back cave, but do you know what thing that pissed me off, right? I've literally this whole wall on the left hand side of me for the Spotify users. They won't be able to see it, but it's literally covered with vinyls now. I've actually put them on a wall. I'll send you a video or a photo after because loads of stuff came for the house today.
Nice.
So we're kind of in the stage in the house where we've got the fundamentals, but now we're in the decorating part. So the mirrors are coming. We're getting frames to the wall, kind of posters and stuff like that. So we're in the kind of actually making it feel like a home. Because right now, because our walls are all white, it just seems real bare. It's a
Yeah.
bit annoying because we can't paint any of the walls here while we're here for the 5 years. So it's a bit frustrating. But what can you do? I mean, the good thing is the house always seems super bright. Obviously being white as well, so when the
Mm.
sunlight comes in, it's
But also when
nice
something
to
gets
cover it.
dirty, you notice it straight away. Which
Yeah,
can be a good
and
and bad thing.
it's
It's good in the sense of things will stay clean, or you'll be on top of things when they are clean. But then it's also such a pain in the hole when if you've got people coming over 2 days or 2 or 3 weeks in a row and stuff, you feel all you're doing is cleaning the house,
yeah. Honestly, the biggest change for us was actually just getting a really good Hoover. Because when we first moved in, we had a second-hand Hoover that someone gave us, and it was shocking. It just didn't Hoover up anything. And since we got one of them handheld Hoovers now, I think it's a wireless one. But the charge is on it for 30 minutes. But it's honestly the difference it makes, man. Because you'd only notice it living in your own home how much dirt your floors can pick up, and we don't even
Yeah.
wear we don't even wear shoes in the house. I don't know if you do or not because you just have Zena, so it probably wouldn't be too big of an issue. But in where we were living, we wear just Crocs or slippers in the house. And even with that, there's still dirt just picking up dust balls and Nicola's hair falling out and just or my hair even falling out.
We're
So
getting
yeah,
old.
it's just
We're getting old
we're
based
getting up
on
there
based off one, we're talking about our hair falling out, but then two, this conversation is such an adult conversation as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So something that popped into my head during the week, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about when, because we're obviously coming over to you in a month, and I was just thinking about oh, great to see you, blah blah, and I was just thinking about the span of our friendship and where we've been. So me and Imran have been mates what, just over 10 years now, and we've kind of, I was we've done nearly, if there was an Xbox achievement board, we've pretty much marked off I would say 95% of things. We started off hating each other. Well, no, you didn't like me more than that. It's which I don't
yeah,
blame
yeah.
you for. I was a wreck in the head when I was 14. Don't blame me for that at all. But we've gone through the whole we were in school together, we went to college together, but we weren't in the same college course. But we're we had our bond over Krusty. We've trauma bonded at times as well. We've basically got a business here with the podcast. We've done a car deal together. We've done the whole, negotiate. I think that's what I was thinking. I was thinking of like, us negotiating. I thought it was quite funny how like awkward it was for the two of us. We're
So
just
awkward.
we're just like shot. And I was like, the only two things we haven't done as like mates, like that is like live together and kiss.
I thought you were gonna say a holiday. We haven't been on holiday, like on a
Oh
holiday
shit, yeah,
together.
we haven't done that. Well, no, we went to Paris together.
Yeah, but I mean, do you really count that? Like, I mean, like that was like a school trip, and we weren't friends,
For the
and
sake
like,
of for the sake of this, yeah, it counts.
okay, it counts for as an Xbox achievement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no,
holiday. We haven't been on a holiday together, which is weird. I think we've had chances. Like, I think before we were trying to plan
I
like
think
trips to
before
London or
COVID, I was
something like
trying to
that.
get, I was trying to, I think like before COVID happened, I think I was trying to plan like a sun holiday for us and a couple of the guys that were hanging
Yeah,
around, but it
and
just never, it was one of those ones that just never got out of the group chat, rest in
yeah,
peace,
yeah.
the many events that never happened in every friendship group
So
chat,
hard to
you
get
know?
stuff out of the group chat, man. Honestly, the
Yeah,
amount of times I've had these like trips like with like a group of lads and they're all like, "Oh yeah, we should go here," and then it just talked about it for like 2 weeks and then it just never goes any further than that.
facts.
Or
But
like,
like I know you've done it with your two mates as well, and I've done it with two of my friends. I don't know if they want to be named or not, so I'm going to keep everybody anonymous. But like, it's such good crack doing it. Like going as like a group. Like me and Simone went on like a double couples thing. We're not swingers, by the way. Before anybody wants to throw that, I was like, it wasn't that. We went with two of my mates, and like genuinely, it was such good crack because like yourself, as much as I love Simone to death. When you're on holiday with somebody as well, like you want a bit of to do your own thing, have your own bit of personal space. And sometimes it's nice to just have like one of your mates to be able to pop out and do these little things with, and
mm.
it's a different type of holiday. I feel like I loved it. Like I thought it was great. Like I'd love to do it with you and Nicola as well. Like I suppose we kind of are. It's not much really for you, but we kind of are when we come over to you guys because it's a holiday for us. Whereas you're inviting us into your home.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it because we haven't spent. I think I used to come for 3 or I think four days, but technically like three
3 nights,
full
four
days.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just looking forward to like just spending time catching up and stuff like that. And again, like obviously, because in this situation, like I became friends with Simone, Simone,
It's a very posh way. That's very south.
yes,
It's a very south side way of saying.
Simone. I became friends with Simone because obviously she's your girlfriend. Where originally before, like you knew Nicola, and technically you were friends with Nicola before I had
Mm.
even got with Nicholas as well. So
I don't.
it's
Have I told the story of that night in David's house on the podcast before?
don't think so.
I love telling this story because I think it's great. I think it's like such a full circle thing. It's like Imran just said there. Me and Nicola were really close friends at the age of 12. We had a mutual friend who introduced us, and we were hanging out and going to the carnival, Yup Blanche.
Oh,
And
Blanche.
Nicola lived in like the estate across the road from my grandparents, so Grant was doing all that, and then I done TY, and Nicola, third year kind of gets in the way of everything, so like we kind of drifted apart a little bit in third year, and then I done TY, Nicola didn't do it, and it's like the end of TY, and we're at a house party, and we had heard that Imran was seeing somebody, so me and the lads like, ooh, like whatever, and that was great. And then we were going to this party, and word was that that Imran was going to be bringing his girlfriend or the girl he was singing. I'm not sure if, it was, if I'm sure if I'm not sure if it was that official at the time.
No, it wasn't.
So we were like, oh, okay, grand. So like Imran, I think you were in the like circle with us, we were all just like mingling and chatting, and then you get a text to be like, from Nicola, oh, I'm outside. So like, we all know you're going to get the girl that you're seeing. And all of a sudden, you walk in with Nicola, and me and Nicola just lock eyes and go, "No fucking way."
That's mad. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. So it's all been happy families ever since. And then yeah, I brought Simone's now a part of the crew as well. So we're fantastic, fantastic
I remember.
four. There we
I
go.
just remember the first time I met Simone was in Tower Records in town. I think it was the first time,
Yeah,
and and obviously like me, Simone would be very much like once you get her talking, she doesn't shut up. Um, that kind of way. But initially, when I first met her, she was real timid, And then I think the first thing that we kind of bonded over was like Finn was like, "Oh, Imran likes anime," and then it was just like we just like talked for like anime for like 30 minutes, and then I was like, "All right, I got the approval." It's funny, like it's like when you're trying to become friends with like your mate's partner, you always like try to bond over something that they have an interest in, and then it's
Mm.
like they'll talk about that for like 30 minutes, and then like that's normally how I probably became friends with most of my mates' girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever. Like normally it tends to be like we find a
Where can we
common
find some
interest,
common ground?
yeah,
Yeah.
common ground, and then we grow from there. Um, but yeah, no, looking forward to having you over. I don't know, from my perspective, I like having people over in the house because we don't get to have that many people over as much. I don't
Mm.
know, what do you feel about that, like having your own house?
I I think this is like very my nana of me.
Mm.
I absolutely love like having people over and like entertaining and like a big thing. I was talking to Simone about this year, and like I talk about this quite a lot with my therapist. Like for me, like an expression of love is like cooking for people. So like I think we've said it before on the podcast, like it's kind of like a running joke when people come to my house that like you can't come or leave without getting fed in some form. Like, and I'll always like, I just enjoy to cook, and I genuinely just enjoy to cook. Like I find it really relaxing, but I also find it to be like a really nice way to like, say thank you, or like, just show a bit of love in some way, because it's something I've made with my hands for you. And like, it's like like, it can be replicated, but like this is for you for right now, like, for you to enjoy, to like, to nourish you and to make you feel warm, or like, all that sort of stuff, like, but I love it, like, when we usually probably have somebody over here once every 2 or 3 weeks ish, like, and then like we'll hold off and be like, oh guys, no, sorry, we've got a new plan for the house. Like we recently got the couch, and we were like, right, nobody's coming over until we get the new couch because it's going to look 10 times nicer, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you.
So like visits get put on pause for like 2 or 3 weeks while we do that. And then we're like, yeah, everybody come over and look at this new thing before we like tear another room apart and do that up again, like,
That's why I'm kind of happy when yous are coming over. Yous are kind of coming to it like I'd say like 90% furnished. Like we'll only
Mm,
have like little bits like getting the blinds for the house, little more decorations, and just upgrading stuff in the kitchen like plates and cutlery because you only have like the basic pack that we bought from Amazon from like the first
mm,
week we moved in. But yeah, I kind of get that. Like I don't know, I like being a host. I wouldn't say necessarily like I enjoy cooking. For others when they're over, for me, I'd say I just like being a host. Like I like being like, oh, do you want a drink, and or
mm.
what would you like, or do you need anything, or just making them feel homely. Because I
Yeah.
always like I always enjoy that when I come to other people's houses or even family members. It's just the way they treat you. I don't know. It's a good sense of character. I think if you notice that about someone. Like I'm not like naming names, but I've been in other people's houses where I haven't had the same kind of experience.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that
like
word.
some people like bring you into the house and they act like you kind of live there, like, oh, like sort yourself out, like, which is like,
Yeah,
it's different depending on your relationship with somebody, like, like I feel like before you went away, well, actually, I'd say maybe before I moved out of my mom's house, you were probably in a situation where the like, yeah, just walk in, the doors unlocked, and if you want, and just go up and get it yourself, like, it's fine, like, because we were you had been in my house enough that stage where it was kind of comfortable. Whereas like now it's a bit more because of like the distance, and like the kind of rarity of you getting a chance to come over here is a bit more of an event. Whereas like now,
yeah,
like even with like Robin and stuff, and like when Robin pops over, I'm like, yeah, just walk in, just like if you want a drink, just get it yourself, like, or like help yourself like in that way. But when someone's in your house for like the first couple of times, it's almost like you kind of have to do that kind of hosting kind of job, like, and like you offer them and make sure, because like, I know, yourself, sometimes you're in the opposite position, you're like, I am parching after that because there was too much salt in the food,
yeah,
and you're like, I really really need a drink, but you don't want to be rude and be like, yeah, I'll have that, because you don't know what their stock levels are like. Whereas like you get comfortable, you're like, I'm taking 5 cans because fuck you,
yeah.
that's why.
From 50 cans of Coke Zero.
And I will not be returning the deposit as well. So,
What's like your opinion on because we were kind of talking about this last week when Nicola's friends were over. I was saying like that if I had friends coming over for like a week, like I wouldn't take any money off them on a whole like for food or for
no, no,
drink
no,
or
no.
anything like that. No, no, I'm just wondering because like I've talked to other people before and they were like if I had like 6 people over, I'd take like a tenner off all of them and stuff like that. And I don't know, like from my perspective, it's like, well, you're inviting them into your home. you didn't have to offer the position of,
yeah,
to
I agree
acquire
with
that
you.
form.
So I think it's different if like so like say you're like in a group of like six people and they say we want to do something and then all of a sudden somebody goes, oh, your house is free that night, let's all go there. And like you didn't invite them there. I think in that situation it's fair enough because it's kind of like it wasn't it was something that they engaged it. Whereas like I feel like if you invite somebody to your home, I don't think that's I wouldn't be like I would never put your hand out. It's like similar to driving. Like if somebody asks you for a lift somewhere, yeah, grand, no problem. It's not an obligation to give them petrol. And like, it can kind of depend on the length of the trip as well. But like,
Mm.
you throw them if it's a. I would say like if it's a journey over 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you should probably just throw them a tenner for petrol. Even though that's not how much it's going to cost in petrol, it's
Yeah.
probably going to be like €3 or €4 in petrol. But it's more the principle that you asked. Whereas if somebody offers you a lift, like if I was like offering some, like if Jack, like when my mates come over tonight, Jack, I offered to go and collect him, bring him to the house, and drop him home. So I wouldn't expect any petrol money off him. Whereas like
Mm.
if he had said that if he was like, "Oh, can I come to the house? Will you collect me?" Wouldn't be like give me money, but like it would like in that situation. I feel it's a bit more applicable. Like like, if
For
Jack's listening
me,
to this, I'm not expecting money off him. By the way,
Jack,
I'm just saying like
tax
that's kind
tax man's pull up your house later on.
of that's like where like I think like if you ask for it then like that's where you pay for it. Whereas like if you're invited, then you don't need to pay for it.
Yeah, I was just wondering what your perspective was on it because I talking to a few people and kind of people had like mixed responses. Most people kind of tend to agree with what me and you were saying that we just wouldn't take the money off our friends. In terms of the driving thing, what we and my friends used to do is when we used to do like a lot of trips down the country, and whoever decided to drive, we would just automatically between everyone we just throw them like if there's five of us in the car, like everyone throw them like a five or a tenner because
Mm.
that'll cost at least then half of the way. And it's you know what it is? It's not even that like the person that's asking for petrol. It's just you know what I mean. Like it's
It's
just
an
like you're
inevitability. Like everybody
it's
knows
inevitable. Yeah,
that like that money is gonna have to be spent on that trip.
yeah. Yeah, and like you're up. It's like when you get a kitty and when you all go to the house. Like if everyone throws in a tenner, then you can get all like eggs, milk, soft drinks, whatever for the house, and
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah, there you go. So
Is like kind of on that is like tipping a thing over in Switzerland.
no, not at
No,
all.
okay, cool.
No, and we like obviously working in the gastro industry now. And I used to work in restaurants back at home. And we never received tips in the kitchen. But it's done a bit differently here. Uh, the managers are very smart in what they do with the prices. So everything is like, for example, like a beer is like every beer is 9 franc, like 72. But then most people will just throw like 10 or 12 franc, and then when they go to give them the change back, they'll just be like, nah, just keep it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like that's where we get most of our like coins from, and then it just builds up over across the day, and then it's shared out equally between everyone at the
Yeah,
end of the shift. But it wouldn't be much like in a thing where, like, for example, like compared to the Americans, where you rock up with a Coke bottle at the cashier, and then your man says, "Oh yeah, mate. By the way, it's also $4 extra." Because that happened to me before when I went to New York as a kid. I remember I went with my mom. We got 2 bottles of Coke, and I think it was like $2 each or something. Like I think it was like one like four, so $4, and then we went up and the guy was like, yeah, so like $8, because the way they have the VAT charges and everything as well.
yeah, yeah.
So obviously
I
service charge as well in restaurants can be crazy as well. But and I understand why in America they do it though, because most of the waiters and waitresses make their money off tips because they don't make enough
yeah.
off their wage. So yeah,
I
it's
think
not compared
that's
to
I think it's disgusting though, like because like that's more the American government's fault than that else,
yeah,
like
yeah.
or like that state's minimum wage policies and stuff. Because it's something that like would really put me off going to somewhere if I knew that like I would just like to be like I know across America this is a thing where like you look in a supermarket, there's a price on it, but that's not the price you're gonna pay. It's still because of taxes and because of all these extra fees and stuff. It's just like it does not make any sense to me whatsoever, because over here, and I feel like it's gone like really European over here. Like tipping has really gone down over here. Like I remember like because when I used to be a lounge guy, um, when I was like 17, I would make tips, but it wouldn't be like groundbreaking. It'd be more like the people you serve every week, more than like
Mm.
the people like knew your name and like I knew their order and all they had to do was put their hand up and I'd be like, yeah, I know he wants a Heineken or I know he wants a Guinness or I know he wants a Suddy in red, like. So
Yeah.
like and even at that, like they wouldn't tip you every single time. It would be more thing like when you would do like the last order of the night and if you were serving them all night, they might throw you a fiver and it was usually for a drink during the lock-in after and stuff. And like, and because I didn't drink, I was able to just take it as a tip, like, because I was 17. So I would like, one, legally my pub couldn't give me the drink, but two, I generally just didn't drink at the time as well. Like.
Mm.
I had a very short-lived stint with drinking. I was only drinking for like a year and a half before I gave it up, or it was
Mm.
2 years.
I think about 2 years.
Yeah. So my drive from because I know I talked like 2 weeks ago on the podcast about like being sober and stuff. So yeah, it was a short-lived stint, but like yes, like I used to come home with maybe like I'd say like 30 or 40 quid, and that used to be grand. Like some nights you'd be finishing like you get a taxi home because it was a bit sketchy, or maybe it was like snowing or torrential rain, like so you didn't have to kind of like if it was felt like less out of pocket in that way, like or like it'd buy your lunch or something like that. So it didn't feel like I was spending my wages on it, like.
Yeah, mine kind of tends to be like on a good day, maybe like 15 quid, and then like on a not so good day, it could only be like 3 or 4 quid. I mean, it's better than nothing, I suppose. Like, I mean, like I said before, I'm lucky enough that my wage is kind of high here, but again, that also matches the way of living here is so expensive. Um, but yeah, I mean, from a perspective like of working in Ireland and going out for food a lot, because that's what me and Finn obviously used to do as well when we met up. What we used to do is we used to try like loads of new restaurants that we wanted to go to, and I like either
Supporting
I
local business,
drive.
lads.
That's it. Support your local business, and I don't know. Like me and you never had a problem with tipping. Like we always used to just go like give her fiver each or tenner each or whatever added on to the bill.
Yeah,
I
like
think most of my mates are like that too.
I would be of like if I was paying like if the bill was like let's say like for the sake of easiness if it was 8 quid and I was giving her a tenner just to keep the 2 quid, like just
Mm.
just some stuff like that. But I don't know, I feel like since COVID especially it's become like a very like zeroed off thing, and there's very like I used to kind of before COVID I would feel a bit of pressure to do it, but like now like I've spent like 80 quid on a meal and I see there's a service charge there and I'm like, yeah, like and I'm paying by card. I haven't carried cash. Like I haven't actively carried cash since COVID, like other than
Mm.
like, it's like being given it in a card or something, like like I'd never like take cash out of an ATM for that, um and like it like I would be less inclined to like type in a tip unless the service was like to like an unbelievable level, like I'd just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna pay my bill, and like there's not any pressure. I feel like it's kind of just leveled off now, especially with minimum wage kind of going up. I know there is obviously a cost of living that's affecting both ends, like because I think the waiters and waitresses understands that not everybody can afford to go that extra mile, and likewise, not everybody can. Especially like if you're doing like an event like a communion confirmation or a birthday or whatever like that, and you're paying for a couple of people, like it can be ludicrous. And if you're like expected to add like 10 to 20% on top of that, it can get pretty
Mm.
pricey pretty quick, like.
Yeah, I'm not mad about when you go up to pay at the end of your meal and then they like, oh, like here's the percentages of tips that you can provide if you'd like to. It's I don't know, it's kind of a forced way of tipping, which I
Mm,
don't. And then you have that awkward situation where most people tend to just press no tip, and then like you just gotta stand there in front of them like I'm not gonna
mm.
tip you. But again, normally when I go for a meal, I always have cash from obviously the pub. So like what I would do is I'd use the tips and I'd just keep it in my wallet. And then if me and Nicola went out for food, I'd just throw them like a fiver or a tenner in francs. And but like honestly, man, they're so
Tip,
surprised by it here.
tip circulation is what you've got going on over there.
Pretty much, it's a lose lose situation no matter what way you look at it. But yeah, how have you been finding the summer days in Ireland?
Oh man, it's like honestly, it's not. It's more like Spain than it is Ireland over here at the moment. Like it's generally, I was clean. Like there was loads of bird shit on my car, which is how you know it's summertime in Ireland. It was so much bird shit, and especially because Simone's dad has the pigeon loft outside. So when you let them out, like sometimes you'll just get a free rain and there's like loads of bird crap everywhere. So like when I just went out earlier, I was like, I'm gonna just clean some of that off and like spray the car on the inside because I'd gotten into it last night after football and I was sweating. I was like, I'm on, kind of get those smells out and stuff. And I like sprayed on the spray and like I gave it two sprays and it settled for a second and then I could see it start to fizz. I was like, I could definitely fry an egg on my car right now. 100% of that. It could definitely happen. Like, do you ever see people doing that? Like they'll like boil it, or no, sorry, I
Yeah,
keep trying to say boil. Like they'll fry an egg on the side of the street because it's that hot. Like, and it won't stick because again it's that hot. You know.
yeah.
No,
I've seen footage of people doing that in the States, like they were doing it on
just
the
just for
concrete.
just for clarity, I didn't do it. I'm a fat bastard, but I'm not. I'm not that
Times are
deprived.
tough out here.
Yeah.
They knocked off the electricity. Finn's out there on the top with Betsy doing it.
Yeah, but it's like it's really like so like there's like very few things I love the summertime and I love the heat and stuff like but one of the things I hate is like when you get into a car that's been sitting in the sun and it's like that waft
Oh,
of like hot air. It's like
are you? Yeah, it's
oh my God, man.
it's a horrible heat feeling.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those ones where like I'm like at the point now where I'm unlocking the car and turning the engine on, but like I'm opening all the windows before I get into the car, like just give it like 10-15 seconds to air out a little bit, like because I done it, I think on Tuesday or something like that. I got in the car and like I just jumped straight in and I just absolutely died. No, it's like right now, like I can't be doing this. Like I'm not in that much of a rush.
It's like an air sickness. It just comes at you so quickly, and it just sits there. And I'm like, oh. I used to
Yeah,
love that,
no.
like opening all the windows in the car and then hopping in like 5 minutes later. But then I'd be so worried the cost should be looking out of the car so no one robs it.
Mm.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
So, have you guys like climatized to the heat over there now, like, or
It's really hot right now. It's one second, check now. It's 21 degrees, but it's like dead heat. There's no wind.
mm,
I'm off today and tomorrow, but I tried to go on a walk today just to go to the shop because I wanted to pick up stuff for the house because we got an IKEA order this morning, so I've just been building away. Um, but I just can't be outside for longer than 20 minutes. My hay fever has just been killing me. Like before I started the podcast, I was trying to like get all my sneezes out. So I was literally in the bathroom just staring, looking at the light, being like, achoo, 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 achoo. And my nose kept running as well. I literally have like tissue on standby right beside me. You're like, I'm
it's the
surprised
it's
because I was,
it's the mute button that you need on standby, not tissues.
yeah. I'll put it on mute, and everyone on YouTube will just see me like head bopping to the. Swear I'm at like a Nirvana concert or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, no, it's going to be pretty detrimental to the audio listeners if you do fail to mute yourself in time.
I also wanted to talk about last week was when I was doing we started like a new thing after we released the podcast on Mondays where we do like a four pictures related to the podcast, basically like without any subject, and what's it called. I put one of the videos in that we talked about previously last week. I won't say it because Finn will just say well, you can go back and watch it next week or last week's episode. But basically, Finn made his birthday video for my
Oh
girlfriend,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah. But I needed a photo, or I needed a photo from the video. So I was just trying to screenshot Sean's titty in the video. But so I had like five like screenshots of like missing Sean's titty. It was so funny. Like Nick was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm trying to get Sean's titty."
Yes, the Findies, as I like
Yeah,
to call them.
Findy fans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Fiddy Biddies.
you'll have to do that for like our like 100 episode, like a recreation.
The thing is, right, because I was like, oh, like it's quite old, but I don't think like I think like a lot of the charm of it is like the way I came out of the like
Came out of the
it sounds
closet.
like yeah, like it sounds so like
I knew it.
anybody who is listening on just like on audio and not watching this is like it sounds so fucking ridiculous. And because it is, like, it's incredibly stupid. But like the video starts off with me like knocking on a door, and you think I'm gonna walk in through my bedroom door, but I was actually in my wardrobe, crouched in like this. I'm a big fella. This was not a big wardrobe, like no. And I just popped out and said, "Oh, hello there," and then all of a sudden I'm like front and center of the frame, like and then yeah, I get into less clothes than I usually have on, less than I have on right now.
If we ever do a promo video for like an episode, we should like definitely like throw something in from both of us like that. Like what we could do is we could set like a camera up outside our own wardrobes and just walk in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And or we could have like two blazers on but like no shirts underneath. I don't know. Big plans. I told you I'm a creator.
Yeah, with content creator in the rough, diamond in the rough, as they'd say, like
Diamond in the rough.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've like loved watching you, like, because I remember when we were first starting this. This is something that you were like a bit
I was so bad.
Well, no, like what's the word? Like you were a bit like pessimistic about, it and you were like, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to be too comfortable doing this sort of stuff. And I even still like I see sometimes that like sometimes you're talking and you're talking like you're just talking to me and that's grand and everything's flows fine. But then I can see it in your face. Sometimes you go, I'm on a podcast, we're being recorded, and you're like you're thinking, fuck, is Sean gonna clip this? Like I can see that in your face sometimes. But like I think it's been really cool to like watch you like naturally get more comfortable as things
Yeah,
go on.
definitely
Whereas
am.
like for me, like like after week one, I was like, okay, it recorded and everything went smoothly. I've been just like, I'm used to looking at myself and listening to my own voice. Whereas like, I even still think sometimes you're like, oh my God, my voice, what the hell? Like, it's
I
basically
remember when
like,
we were doing the promo videos for us, like giving awareness about the podcast, like the first week, and the amount of retakes. I think I had to do like 40 retakes because I just kept like laughing and like it was not natural for me. Where now, like I pop on for the podcast and I'm so used to it. Like even now, Nicola will ask me like at least once a week, "Oh, when are you recording the podcast?" Because like you know what I mean, it's because it's part of our like daily weeks now. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
we take an hour out of our day once a week to like catch up. The funny thing is, I think the people like think like that we just don't talk, and like this is the only day, like the only hour of the day, and then we just completely ignore each other. Like
No, like
behind the scenes, we actually hate each other.
this is what I said last week. Remember, I was like, we're actually friends. We're not just we're not just
Yeah.
podcasters. We actually see each other and plan things outside of the podcast, folks. But yeah, it's the same for like Simone is like kind of aware of like, oh yeah, grand. Like Sean's just like off doing that now, and that's it's like it's a thing. Like we've actually like again like the idea made it out of the group chat, lads. Like it's fully
It
happened.
did
Like
take us
we're
like 2.5 years, but we made it.
yeah. I love how it took you literally moving country to start as well.
I
Like
mean, technically, I made the concept. I created the distance dilemma.
Yeah, well, this is also as well. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm taking 90% of the credit, even and then Finn was the other 100% dragging me to record myself.
I'm just like thinking of me like spending like 2 3 hours a week doing the clips, being like, yeah, you take that 90%, bro. Yeah, that's fine.
We know our roles now. We know our roles.
Yeah, yeah. So
Sean
chicken.
to the edit.
No, I was chicken, lettuce, red onion, and and Joe, I've taken a few days off work next week, and we're gonna revert around to this as we always fucking do. We always find a way to mention this every podcast too, but I'm off for the next so not today's Friday, I'm in on Monday, and then from like Tuesday onward, I've got a week off. I just needed to use up my annual leave days. So I've got a bit of a week off, and you better know one of the things I'm doing next week is going on a little solo
Oh yeah.
adventure to the Krusty Corner.
Crossy Connor, please sponsor us. Send me a chicken roll packed and I'll eat it 4 days later when I
You
get
just
there.
like dehydrate it and then like stick it in a fucking on
The,
post
the first
50
thing
box.
I do when I come back is you're driving me to O'Gara.
That is a okay with me. I
Yeah.
will do it whatever time we're there. And like
We're
whenever if you
getting
land,
jam buns, we're getting chicken curries. I don't know. I'm getting literally a chicken roll, and that's it. A few jam buns, maybe.
it
Maybe a few
was
sausage
giving
rolls.
Joe that was given like the episode of Gavin and
I
Stacey
knew
where
you were going to say
Smithy's
that.
like, I'll have a salad. I'm just kidding. I'm having a steak. That's what like that was given right there.
I thought you were talking about the lamb bun one.
Chicken boona, lamb boona.
Bun.
I don't know whether Robin has always said that I remind her of Smithy, and I don't know whether I take that as a compliment or an insult because like I feel like that specific thing of being like, yeah, order your thing. Like I'm fully on board with that, but like I don't think I'm like I'm in like other aspects, like like I haven't got a son. Yeah, I don't support West Ham. And I'm an opinionated arsehole, but like I'm not a whiny arsehole as well. I do kind of just get on with it. Whereas like Smitty is a bit more whiny, like.
I can see aspects of Smithy in you, but
Yeah, yeah,
overall
for
as a
sure.
character, I see more like Gavin, honestly.
For me,
Yeah, I can see like parts of Gavin. I mean, you're kind of like a mixture between Smithy and Gav.
mm. My
Uh,
nana is like, and everybody says this. Have you? I don't. I know you've met Johnny loads of times, but have you ever met Joan? My nana
yeah,
Joan.
yeah.
Joan is Pam from Gavin and Stacey. through and through. Like everything about her. The only thing she doesn't have is blonde hair and like longer hair. She's got like a shorter haircut and she's got brown hair, but everything about her, and like I say it to people, right? And like I've said this to her and to family, she's not seen it, but like I've said it to my other family members and stuff, and like me and Simone think it's the funniest thing ever. Because like we'll be watching Gavin and Stacey, and like Pam will say or do something that isn't like supposed to be a joke, but like we'll just start wetting ourselves and going, "That's literally just Joan. That's what she is." You know, she's like I've never seen a character translate so well to somebody I know in real life. You know, shout out to
It's funny
Joan,
when you
love
think
Joan.
about characters and like you try to relate them to people.
For sure.
Like, what's one kind of character that you would that you get vibes from me like? So, like, what's a character in like a TV show or anything that you were like, all right, that's Imran. Like, I see part of Imran there.
Um,
Or am I putting you on the spot here?
you're putting me on the spot with that one. I can think of one for myself, but I
Okay,
can't think
go.
of, for me. It's I actually can't remember. It's the lead. It's the guy, the character Adam Sandler plays in the film Punch Drunk Love. Have you seen? I don't think you've seen that film, haven't you?
I don't think I've seen it. I thought the one with Jennifer
Oh
Aniston.
no, that's Just Go With It.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Same
This
movie probably. It's Adam Sandler, so they're all the
No, no,
same.
but no, this thing. It's actually it's like it's the first like really dramatic role that Sandler ever done. I've got like,
Okay.
you know, like one of my like underlying autistic traits is I have like got mad Adam Sandler lore. Like I love the Sandman, and when I was a kid, I used to have like literally every single one of his DVDs. Like I don't know what it was about my little autistic ass that was like I just love this fella, you know. And I feel like now we give similar vibes. Like we both love to wear shorts and shit Hawaiian t-shirts, like you know. So I feel like
His
I
drip is
channel his
crazy.
energy in some way.
He's
But
a drip lord. Like, I respect him.
I love his whole demeanor. I love his Riz, right?
Yeah.
If Riz is a person, it's Adam Sandler. Let's be real.
He honestly just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, I love that about him. But yeah, it's I encourage anybody to watch it. It's a really great film. It's called Punch Drunk Love, and it's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And I just like it. You know what it is like? He's one of those characters that like has like a lot of like underlying like anger, but like doesn't know how to properly vent it and stuff. And like I feel like a buildup of childhood traumatic incidents has like led me down a similar path of like not knowing. And to get something I talk about quite a lot in therapy of like sometimes like I don't know how to be angry or how to react to certain things, and that's how things in my brain have worked the way they do. Like so that's one for me. For you, I'm still struggling. I know the one you probably want to hear is Spider Man.
No, no, I
No,
don't think I relate to Tom at all.
maybe not for energy, but for like personality, I would maybe go for like Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Just because like I feel like you're a do good person who takes care of yourself and those around you, and you will go on above and beyond for everybody. And one of the biggest personality traits that I love about you, and something I always like think of like this is why I like Imran. This is why I want to be around Imran. It's like when we would go to house parties when we were younger, and like this is the thing you were doing from when we were like 15 up. Like so this isn't something you started doing later in life or whatever. Like this is something that's like in your character to your core. Is you would start cleaning up at house parties, even though it's not your house or nobody's asked you to do it or anything like that. And like you've had the same amount of drinks as anybody. Nobody was asking you to do it. It's something I always noticed you doing, and I've
Hmm.
always had like mad respect for that. So yeah, I would go for Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec because of those traits that you have.
That's a very nice compliment. I'll take that.
Have you seen Parks and Rec?
Yeah, I've seen parts of it. I haven't finished the whole thing. I have to go back and watch a couple of the
So good.
seasons. But it's good. It's a good show. And it's like well written. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like the jokes are hitting. Sometimes it can feel a bit scripted, and which obviously, of course, most shows are. But I mean, from an aspect of when you're watching it, you do feel like sometimes it can be a bit forced. But
Yeah, a bit
overall,
like formulaic,
like a bit
like.
formulated. Sorry, is the word I'm looking for. But yeah,
Mm.
good show. Good show. I'm trying to like find the key to move on to our topic this week, but it doesn't
Mm.
like we've been great the past couple of weeks of like moving
Segways.
from
Shout
like
out to segways.
segues. Yeah, shout out to segues. Like moving into the next segue, but I actually don't have from that topic, so
No, like this, it's too like nice and too like happy and boppy, and then like it's like the topic is like it kind of like on the opposite end. It's like it's not depressing, but it's like it's not. It is a bit more like shit talk than well, like, I think I was just giving you loads of praise there, and the topic is kind of just talking shit about something, like, you know.
Literally. So last week's topic, Sean spoke about reasons that he would find it hard to leave Ireland. If I'm correct, I'm saying that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what we talked. Yeah, that's
something
some
along the
along them
lines of that.
along
It was
lines
a long
like
time
that.
ago. I don't
Yeah, it was
know.
it was like a week ago. So,
Yeah,
um,
lots happened since
and
then.
this week the topic was actually formulated by Sean again. Well, kind of between us, but yeah, he's moved on again. He's not just an editor. Just don't forget that, guys. The eye roll. And the question I have is things I don't miss about Ireland.
How
And
he
I
is.
didn't want, and I didn't, yeah, pretty much. I didn't want to get like too pessimistic about it either. Like this is just like a off the top of the head, like things that came to me today when I was thinking about it. And obviously the first one is so obvious is the weather.
Yeah,
I've
that was the
talked about it
first thing that came
before.
to my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, yeah. The weather abroad here is like you have seasons, so like you can plan for activities and daily life. Where in Ireland you have four seasons in one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that can be frustrating. But the
Like
one thing,
it's literally 21 degrees out here right now, and it could snow tomorrow. I wouldn't like it would not surprise me if it snowed tomorrow. Like,
for anyone that's never lived in Ireland, you wouldn't get it. You got to live there for like a long period of time to realize what the hell is happening. Like there's been days up and at the beach and I've experienced like snow, and then like 20 minutes later it's like 20 degrees, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
yeah, shout out to global warming.
Shout out to global warming. I won't talk too much about the weather because it's the boring topic. And then another one I had really was this is kind of a like you can look at it both ways. So the over niceness in Ireland, and we've talked about this before.
I think I kind of mentioned that's one of the things
Yeah,
like last week that where I would struggle like in terms of like the cultural difference of people being friendly with you. So,
yeah,
but like I get what I think I'm gonna understand your angle, but I'll let you
yeah.
explain.
So I'm going to talk like on two things here. So when I mean like there's over niceness, there's like people that like Finn has spoken before. They talk too much for no reason at all. Like they input themselves into conversations when they don't have to. But then there's also the fake niceness, which I need to talk about, which is a huge thing I've noticed since I've left school. Sean probably wouldn't experience it as much, but he probably still would. This happens a lot at like pubs or like bars, and you meet people you went to school with, and they be like, "Oh man, how are you getting on? How's things?" And like completely forgot that they probably bullied your whole family, slated your whole, your dead cousin that like had very severe issues, and like they basically ignored you the whole time in school, but yet you're their best mate for this 1 hour on a night out. And
Mm.
that shit like just pisses me off, and like I've talked so much about that with my mates over the years, where like I've been caught having conversation with someone for like 15 minutes, being in the back of my mind like I generally don't like you. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'd say you, yeah, no, like it is, it's the truth.
Yeah,
And like you've definitely experienced this like on many occasions. It's the fake
yeah.
noises I just don't enjoy.
That's the way I was gonna phrase it. Is like the fake niceness or the fake kind of caring. Like I would like so I not I get why people as well would like think that this can be like quite rude as well, especially Irish people because like we said like there is that fake niceness and just like that like kind of need to fill that sound gap and just talk like when the conversation doesn't always need to happen like like sometimes I can be quite like not mute, but like I'm just like right, okay. If I don't have that, like, if I don't have that to say, I'm not going to say that. Especially like in a group where there's like loads of people I don't know. Like a lot of people, I think, especially like in work, everyone's like, "Oh, Sean's like a really quiet guy." I'm like, I'm not. I just don't know everybody yet. Whereas like now, I'm fairly yappy and fairly like as I am with like
Mm.
with you and with most people. Like I'm yappy, I'm chatty. People know me. They know what's going on. But like I think at first people were like, "Oh, he's not super." Like he's not like like it can seem like very closed off like but like you said there I don't like to fill in gaps for no reason like like I notice it now with the lads that play five aside because I'm the like I only know one person there, which is Simone's stepdad, like on a personal level. Like the rest of the lads is all just like I literally just know their names and I know one or two
Mm.
of them work with Monum. And like again, like it's coming from like it can it's hard not to sound like a bit of an arsehole, like but it's coming from a place of like wanting to be nice and wanting to fill that in. But like I feel like just sometimes like folks like us can be a bit like just leave it. It's grand. Like you just sit in silence and enjoy the weather. Like
Yeah, I know it's some. There's a thing, and I've noticed like living in Ireland. It's like it's this forcedness of trying to fill a void of silence in a conversation, and sometimes like you're saying there, like it is just nice just to sit in peace and quiet and just like
mm.
feel the sun on yourself. On the same
Feel the
topic
rain
is
on
kind of
your
yes,
skin. No
yeah.
one
There
else
goes.
can feel it
Here
for
that
you.
was the
Only
fucking.
you can let it in.
I thought he was going off there. Okay.
No one else. No one else.
Yeah, you lads, you just clicked on the wrong Spotify podcast. You have time to tune off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of on the same topic. Um, the I don't want to come across it because this just doesn't happen in Ireland, but this is just my experience of growing up in Ireland. It's you know the judgmental of a lot of people we grew up with
Mm.
is very high.
Yeah.
Um, and like I kind of and I probably fell into that trap myself growing up as well. And been in situations where I probably was a bit judgmental of people as well, and I'm trying not to be as I get older, because you never really know what's going on behind closed doors, either with family issues or relationship issues or whatever. But this is just something I haven't experienced here. Like a lot of people here in Switzerland are very like open minded
Mm.
to foreigners coming into their country, and they like enjoy you trying to adapt to their culture. Now I did say before like they do lack a bit of an identity, but they are very much more of an open kind of society. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of my experience been living abroad that I'm just been thinking about a lot lately. I don't know if you want to talk on that at all.
Yeah, like I experienced it quite a lot with like my relationship with my mom because before my mom died, you obviously know as well, but before my mom died, we went through like a 2 3 year period where we didn't speak. Um and like especially around like the time of the funeral and stuff, like I could feel the judgment from people, like especially like people who like maybe hadn't heard both sides of the arguments and stuff, like where like obviously like her friends would have heard her version and that version wasn't always correct, like and even like in work it wasn't so I didn't really talk about it in work much because it was just really complicated and like without being able to kind of like go into detail on it for like a while, which like you're not always guaranteed that time in like a workspace or and likewise as well, like when you're meeting people like for the first time, like like it's one of those things that if you say, oh, like if they ask you about your family life and you're like, oh yeah, I don't really chat to my mom or whatever, like that it's like it's something very like judgmental, but everyone's got their own kind of relationship with everybody. Like, I that's it. Like I said, I'm kind of like at a place now where I try to just be like, okay, cool, that's you. Like, and that's life. Like, but like it was something I felt very heavily like both during the funeral process and even before that, and kind of since like when you if you say to people like and even like as I'm putting it out here, I'm like, oh, like if people are like, oh, like Sean didn't have a great relationship with his man before, all that stuff came up and all. It's like, people will kind of like jump to assumptions. And I think especially for like, when like it's a child and parent thing, I think the blame normally shifts onto the child because it's like, oh, they're being childish or they're being selfish or they were spoiled too much or something like that, where everyone's story is really different, like, and different things trigger different things. And yeah, it's I agree with what you're saying. Like, well, I agree that like the Irish can be like quite judgmental without knowing all the facts.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what the point you said there about knowing all the facts is kind of what I was trying to literate. Um, and then one thing I just can't stand, kind of on the same topic, is bitchiness. Like as humans, I've never really enjoyed it. And again, like these are things that I probably had done when I was younger, and as I'm getting a bit older, I'm having a bit more perspective with things. Like sometimes there's just no need to bring up situations and talk about
Mm.
other people's business just for the sake of having conversation. Like I've had this experience with that with people at home, and it's like, oh, what's the goss and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, well, there doesn't need to be any goss, Like I don't need to talk to you about other people's lives or my friends' lives, especially if they've like asked me not to speak. about certain things,
Mm.
and like something I've always dealt with was like personal trust issues with people because they've just like snaked me, and I always had a bad choice of character with friends. Like I've lost a lot of friends over the years, but also gained, like friends that I still have now, and that I trust them with a lot of things. And it's just something I didn't enjoy a lot growing up in Ireland, not being able to trust people. But that also could be due to like other things that happened in my early ages of growing up as well. That obviously had like a bit of a
Mm.
aspect on me feeling that certain kind of way. Um,
Do you think that's more of like a cultural thing, or do you think that's more of a thing because you're in a place where you know so few people? Like, because obviously when you grow up here and you go to school here and like you live in like you only live across the road from where we used to go to school, so you're gonna see people who we saw in school or like went to different things or like even if it's college and then when you're in town like you'll bump into people and stuff like is do you feel like that's more like of the reason like it's more like because you know people or it's like generally like a cultural thing.
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I think it tends to be probably more from just my own personal experience that I've had throughout the years. Like I've always been that kind of person who's been kind of friendly with different people in different groups. I've kind of jumped in between many groups and different friends and stuff like that throughout the years, and probably told people stuff about my own personal life that I probably shouldn't have. Um, but on a cultural aspect, I'm probably talking more about um, the different relationships you can have with people, concern and trust, and that could be on like a professional level, that could be on a personal level, um, that maybe other people might have a different view of. But this is just me talking about my own personal opinion on that kind of topic.
Mm.
I don't know if you can say anything on that, or if you have anything to say at all.
Yeah, like I remember going through I was going through something at the time. Again, I won't get too into it because I don't want to depress our listeners too much. But I was going through a bit of a rough patch, and I went to go and see some professional help. And it's the person, like like I was getting assessed basically by somebody, and they literally just said like cheer up. And I feel like it's stuff like that. It's like you're not listening to me, or like you're kind of just seeing it. Like I know, and I've said before, like I see a lot of things very black and white, but when it comes to like those personal things where when like you're talking about relationships with people or you're talking about relationships maybe with like substance and stuff, it's very very different. It's a lot more complex. Like and like it's in moments like that where I was like I just feel like you're not listening to me
Mm.
now, or you are jumping. You're seeing it too black and white and you're jumping to that conclusion.
It is a very fragile topic, especially
Mhm.
talking about them kind of things. And I feel like if you're in that situation, you're probably just there to be like the mediator. You're just giving them the space to speak.
Mm.
Where like we kind of talked about that just prior in the previous point, where like it's kind of this thing of filling the void, like of her saying that just to cheer you up.
Yeah.
And I might myself, I've tried 2 rounds of therapy. Once when I was at a younger age, probably about 12, 13, and then a bit older when I was about in my like late or early 20s, like late teens. And I both, personally speaking, I had both terrible experiences due to the lack of trust and the lack of communication they had with me during the
Mm.
process. And again, that's not me talking just on a culturally aspect, that's just me kind of talking about on a personal level. But these are experiences that I have reflect negatively about Ireland. But again, that's not me culturally dissing my own. I love Ireland and it will always be home. So that's just kind of what I've been feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't ever like see myself being able to call anywhere else home other than here.
No, no. At the end of the day, I think like the experiences and where you're brought up, it really like shapes you as a person, and that's why I love Ireland. And we talked a bit about it last week, but you know, uh, I'm not proud of the Ireland we're living in right now, but I think that things can change, and I hope it changes moving forward. Because for anyone that doesn't know, living in Ireland can be an amazing experience. Like the amount of people that come here every year and say they've had the best time, I mean, it speaks for itself. And I'm not just talking about Dublin because that's where we're both from and where we've lived a lot of our lives, but even like I'm really hoping when I come home now in 4 to 5 years' time to actually go around exploring Ireland a bit more because it's something I actually haven't got around to. I mean, I've been a good few places around Ireland, but I mean, visually as a country, we're beautiful and we've
Mm.
one of the nicest peoples and are uh, like we're definitely a country for like nice people and down to earth people and very culturally involved people. So it's something I'm looking forward to anyway.
I think like the best parts of Ireland are like some of the best in the world. Like you said, like the best people here are some of the best people in the world, and the best food here, like the quality of our, like our dairy and our beef and stuff like that's some of the best in the world. And then again, like you were saying, the scenic stuff, but then also on the opposite side, I do also feel that I wouldn't say we have like some of the worst in the world at a lot of things, but like when you look at things like public transport and the right wing
Mm,
movement that is building over here, unfortunately,
yeah,
and the poverty gap as well. Like how the rich, like I know that these aren't things that are like super exclusive to Ireland, but they're things that are notably bad in day to day life in Ireland. Like so I think. Like, because I know myself, like I've been lucky enough to see quite a lot of Ireland. Like I've been to Cork and Galway and Belfast and Kildare and a couple of other counties and stuff. And I would like to see a lot more. But anytime I've gone out, like I love Belfast as well. Like Belfast is probably my favorite city in Ireland. They're in Cork. Like I love going up to Belfast. Like and Belfast feels so safe compared to Dublin. Like Dublin, I don't feel safe walking around Dublin
mm,
by myself a lot of the time. Like I wouldn't walk around Dublin with my AirPods in, or I wouldn't take my phone out unless like I absolutely had to check directions, or if I was checking like a bus time. But like even at that, like I'd be scanning the area and going like, is there anybody sketchy around me? Do I think somebody's going to nick my phone? Because and again, that could also just be from my personal experience because I have been mugged before. So there's also like that PTSD element to it as well. But the fact that that's there and it's not very uncommon as well. Like I know a lot of people feel that way about like their safety in Dublin, like and it's just trying to be aware. So like I think Ireland still has the potential to be like one of the best countries in the world, and like I know we do excel in a lot of things, like but like we said, like the bad is also very bad.
yeah. And that's kind of like one of the last topics that I had really related to the topic this week was kind of the thing I enjoy about living here compared to being back at home is the availability to have feel safer in my environment. Like I talked about it, I don't know before in a couple of the previous podcasts, but like when I live really close to a lake here, and I'm able to leave my stuff on the grass without it being robbed. Like you would never catch me in Ireland, going for a swim if I didn't have the bag buried in sand or someone watching the
Mm.
bag, or underneath a sand dune or covered and stuff because I know myself that if it's out for too long, it's going to be robbed. And
Yeah,
that's what I said before. Even there we're letting like when it's really hot in Ireland and I roll down all the windows and Betsy and I leave her out for 5 minutes so I can cool her down. I'm always cautious. I'd have to watch the car from inside the sitting room because I
yeah,
know if I leave that for longer than 5 minutes, some little rat's gonna come up and try to take the car.
yeah,
Like that's just the world we live in Ireland, and it's sad to say. Now this is just our experience from living in Dublin. Like I don't know if it happens a lot more in the west or the south of Ireland, but again, this is a bad reflection of what Ireland is. And
mm.
I'm not saying this happens everywhere in Ireland, but this is just an experience that we have from the areas we are brought up in. Shout out to Harristown.
Shout out to my holders.
Yeah, I'm a holder.
But like
Shout
I
out
get
Lady
that as
Shop.
well because I'm like that with the car where I was concerned that it's basically like Simone's dad gets like a lot of deliveries and stuff for the horses, and like sometimes like there's trailers and sometimes I can't get my car out and stuff, and I knew I was going to be leaving. And like I said to Simone, I was like, "Oh, do you think your dad's gonna be blah blah today?" Just because I knew I had to get out. And she's like, "Oh, why don't you leave just parked like outside the garden, like on the main road?" And I'm like, "There's two reasons. One, I'd be afraid a car or a bus will drive by and clip the mirror,
Mm,
because that can happen, like And then two, I honestly would be like, well, I can't if I can't see the car, especially because like we have the one of those ring doorbells. So like if someone did come up and try and steal it from the garden, we'd at least have footage from it,
yeah.
to try and help in kind of assisting with that, trying to catch somebody or like insurance and stuff, whatever, um. So Yeah, that's like I tend to agree. Like this is a great podcast for me and you because we just fucking agree with each other on everything. I don't think we've actually had like a proper disagreement on that on this podcast yet.
Not yet. um, but yeah, that's kind of all I've kind of really had off the top of my head on the topic. But if you have um, any responses, this is talking to the listeners right now. If you have any responses, we'll leave a question on the Instagram page that you can ask or put responses in, and we can listen or read them out next week on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Right, so I think
Yeah,
this is a good point to wrap up this week's episode.
yeah,
So yeah, guys, thank you so much as always for tuning in to the Distance Dilemma podcast. This has been episode number 17. And yeah, we will chat to you again next week. We release every Monday at 7 a.m. Irish time, 6 a.m. European Standard Time. And I don't know what time it is anywhere else because they're the only two time zones that I know. So yeah, that's when the podcast comes out. And good luck to you. So yeah, um, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. And I will hand you off to Imran for his final goodbyes.
yeah. Thanks all for the support recently, especially on the Instagram and the YouTube. We've had a lot more viewers over the past while, so it doesn't go unnoticed. And yeah, we're looking forward to next week's
The
episode, and we'll
TikTok is
see you
doing
all
very
soon.
well. I know you don't look to TikTok as much because you're not on it, like but the TikToks are doing very well. So shout out to anybody who's listening from TikTok who
Yeah.
maybe doesn't know who we are, who we're just two strangers that like to give out about things.
Yeah. Well, that's what
Like,
this week's episode reflected by. Yeah.
yeah. I feel like the
Yeah.
last two episodes we've like ended off just giving out about Ireland,
It'll be
Uh,
positive next week, guys.
we'll come up with something a bit more positive and uplifting next week, I swear. But yeah, like I said, guys, thank you so much, and we will talk to you next week.